In the train company's locker room, Joe finishes his shift and opens a letter from his locker. He learns that his application for a supervisor position has been rejected. He angrily crumples the letter just as his supervisor, a man with a goatee, approaches with a smirk. The supervisor informs Joe that he has to cover the late night shift for a sick colleague. Joe starts to protest, but when he sees a female colleague with her hair in a ponytail walk in, he looks at her and agrees to take the shift. Later, on the train, Joe walks through the carriages checking tickets. He startles when a small dog growls at him from under a seat as he helps an elderly woman retrieve her fallen cane. A woman working on her laptop gets frustrated when she can't find her ticket and has to pay the full fare in cash. As Joe continues, a man changes out of his work clothes near the carriage doors. Joe then encounters the woman from the locker room, Ellen, who is pushing the service trolley. He awkwardly asks her out for a drink, but she politely turns him down, mentioning she has to work early the next morning. The train travels through a dark forest at night, with rain streaking down the windows and a full moon shining through the clouds. Suddenly, a loud screeching sound fills the air, and the train jolts to a violent stop, throwing passengers from their seats and causing the lights to flicker out. When the lights return, the driver announces over the intercom that they've hit something and asks everyone to remain calm. Joe, the train guard, finds that the service trolley has overturned, and he helps Ellen and another man, Adrian, to their feet. While they pick up the scattered items, Joe finds 2 sets of keys on the floor, which Adrian claims are both his. As passengers start to panic, Joe tries to contact the driver on the intercom but gets no response. Meanwhile, the driver, Tony, has gone outside with a flashlight. He discovers the mangled, bloody remains of a deer stuck under the train's wheels. As he struggles to pull it free, he hears a noise, turns, and is suddenly attacked by a large, unseen creature. A splash of blood hits a passenger's window, but the rain quickly washes it away. Joe and Ellen use a key to enter the driver's dark, empty cabin. Seeing nothing but rain outside the window, Joe uses the emergency phone to call for help. The line is full of static, but he learns it will be a 4-hour wait for a replacement bus. When he returns to tell the passengers, they begin to panic. A man in a black jacket yells at everyone to be quiet and insists they should just walk along the tracks to the next station. Joe refuses, explaining that it's against safety rules and he could lose his job. The passengers ignore him and demand he open the door. He reluctantly agrees and unlocks it. The group climbs down into the foggy woods and begins walking. Suddenly, a howl echoes from the trees and they all freeze. Joe moves ahead with his flashlight to investigate and finds the driver's mauled body. He screams for everyone to get back on the train. During the panicked rush back inside, a creature grabs an elderly woman by the leg. It thrashes her against the side of the train before the other passengers manage to pull her in and slam the door. Her leg is severely torn and bleeding. As Ellen tries to help, the creature slams against the window. Joe shushes everyone, and they watch in terror as a long claw scrapes down the glass. Once the creature is gone, Joe returns to the driver's cabin, but the phone is dead. In the control car, Billy joins Joe and looks at the dashboard. He points to the empty fuel gauge and explains there's a leak, which means they can't restart the train. Joe returns to the passengers and tells them they're stuck. As panic rises, Adrian calls them bear bait, but a young woman named Nina points out that bears don't howl. The injured woman, Jenny, insists it wasn't an animal, but something more like a man. Suddenly, a loud thumping comes from the next carriage. Joe grabs a fire extinguisher, and he, Adrian, and Billy go to investigate. They find the noise is coming from a locked bathroom. Joe unlocks it, and a large man named Paul stumbles out, confused. After being told what happened, Paul is upset that he missed his stop. As the group tends to Jenny's worsening leg wound, Kate sits beside Nina and tries to comfort her by talking about her own daughter. Just then, loud banging erupts on the outside of the train. The creature is back, and the lights begin to flicker and die as it climbs onto the roof. At that moment, Nina's phone rings, and she answers a call from her mother. As she tries to explain their situation, a creature smashes through the window and grabs her legs, yanking her screaming out of the train. The car shakes violently, and Kate reaches for Nina's hand, but another passenger pulls her back to safety. They all watch in horror as blood drips down the outside of the glass from the roof above. The terrified survivors flee to the next car, and Kate becomes hysterical, angry that they abandoned the girl. An argument breaks out until an older man shouts for everyone to be quiet and work together. The group finds an emergency kit filled with axes and tools and immediately starts barricading the car, tearing out metal grates and seats to block the doors and windows. Sometime later, a man named Adrian approaches Joe, showing him 2 sets of keys, one for his family home and one for his secret apartment, and suggests they abandon the others to save themselves. Suddenly, Jenny, The woman with the injured leg vomits a pool of black liquid, and her teeth fall out. Amid the panic, Joe realizes Paul, the man in the football shirt, is missing. He and another man go to find him, discovering him locked in a bathroom. As Paul fumbles with the door, the lights go out. A creature smashes through the bathroom ceiling and attacks him. Joe stumbles back as blood splatters through cracks in the battered door. When Joe tries to return to the others, he finds the connecting door has been blocked. Adrian, hearing the attack, tries to escape through a different exit, but discovers it is locked. As the monster pounds on the door, the group inside struggles to hold their barricade of seats in place. The creature smashes its arm through a gap, causing everyone to scramble back. A woman named Ellen freezes in terror, but Joe tackles her out of the way just before the monster breaks through completely. It corners Joe, but Ellen stabs it in the back with a sharp piece of wood. Enraged, the beast turns and throws her across the car. The other men seize the opportunity, attacking the creature with metal poles. During the fight, the monster grabs Billy by the throat and lifts him against the ceiling. Adrian grabs a red fire extinguisher and bashes the monster in its wound, forcing it to drop Billy. Matthew then rushes in with a fire axe and hacks at the monster repeatedly until it collapses, dead. As Matthew stands over the body in a daze, Kate pulls him away. Examining the corpse, they see its wolf-like teeth and a ring on its mangled hand. Realizing it was once human, Matthew declares it's a werewolf. Adrian points out that a bite can spread the curse, and everyone's eyes turn to the injured passengers. As they cover the body, an older man named Ged recalls a mysterious train crash from 1963, where victims were found mauled. Suddenly, the dead monster's eyes snap open, and it lets out a loud howl. Joe immediately grabs the fire extinguisher and smashes its head in again and again. From the dark forest, a howl is heard, and the glowing eyes of other werewolves appear between the trees. Back on the train, the older woman, Jenny, suddenly gasps, her eyes turning pale as she lets out a low growl. Adrian points at her, shouting that she's infected, but her husband Ged quickly stands in front of her to protect her. As Adrian insists they must kill her, the other women hold him back. He shoves them away, lunges at Jenny, and begins choking her against a wall. Joe runs over and knocks Adrian to the floor with a single punch. The survivors then use belts to tie both Adrian and a struggling Jenny to separate poles. Billy, the young man in the hoodie, says he can fix the train's fuel leak and shows Ellen which controls to use in the driver's cabin. While they do this, Joe uses the intercom phone to make a calm announcement, pretending everything is under control. Billy and Matthew then step outside into the fog, armed with an axe and a flashlight. As Billy crawls under the train to work on the leak, Matthew stands guard. Inside, Kate confronts the restrained Adrian about a past one-night stand. He coldly claims not to remember. Across the aisle, Jenny's breathing becomes labored, and Adrian warns everyone that they are running out of time. Matthew hears a noise and walks into the foggy woods with an axe and flashlight, leaving Billy to work under the train in the dark. He follows a faint cry for help until his light reveals a werewolf with glowing eyes feeding on a mutilated body hanging from a tree. More creatures appear from the mist, surrounding and killing him. Inside the train, the passengers hear his screams and a monstrous howl. Adrian, who is tied up, sees Jenny's eyes start to glow and frantically begs Kate to untie him. At that moment, the train's power and lights flicker back on. In the driver's cab, Joe and Ellen manage to get the train moving. The sudden lurch forces Billy to desperately cling to the undercarriage as the train pulls away. After it passes the werewolves, Billy drops onto the tracks, but the train then grinds to a halt, leaving him behind. A werewolf slams against the front window, startling Joe and Ellen. Back in the car, Jenny completes her horrifying transformation. As Kate breaks Adrian's restraints with a fire extinguisher, the newly transformed Jenny snaps her own bonds and tackles Adrian to the floor. Just then, Joe and Ellen rush back into the carriage. As the werewolf Jenny stalks Adrian, another werewolf smashes a door window and drags a screaming woman out of the train. With werewolves now swarming the car, the three survivors run down the corridor. Realizing they are trapped, Adrian shoves Ellen toward a werewolf, intending to use her as a distraction. Joe saves her and attacks Adrian, leading to a brutal fight on the floor. As Adrian chokes Joe, Ellen grabs a knife and stabs Adrian in the back. Wounded, Adrian gets up, barricades the door to trap Joe and Ellen inside, and taunts them before taking the keys and jumping off the train to escape alone. The werewolves surround Joe and Ellen, but the young man suddenly appears holding a makeshift torch. He throws the flaming cloth at one of the creatures, which immediately bursts into flames. Using another lit torch, he holds back the other monsters, allowing Joe and Ellen to escape through a nearby door. As they flee, the werewolves overpower and kill the young man. Joe and Ellen run desperately through the dark, foggy forest, They eventually stop, and Joe tells Ellen he will stay behind to distract the werewolves. After a final kiss, he yells for her to run, and she tearfully flees down a path. Joe turns and screams as he charges toward the approaching creatures, who quickly tackle and kill him. Later, a blood-spattered Ellen stumbles onto a deserted train platform in the early morning light, clutching Joe's name tag in her hand. Elsewhere in the woods, Adrian finds a pile of clothes. As he looks around, werewolves emerge from the trees and surround him. A newly transformed Joe, with yellow eyes and sharp fangs, steps forward and faces a terrified Adrian. Thanks for watching.